whichever part of the world you are joining us from. The Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade is proud to host this global celebration of World MSME Day 2021. We have more than 35 speakers joining us today from more than 25 countries. We are really honored and grateful to all of you for accepting our invitation and joining us today. On behalf of GCPIT, I welcome you all to this wonderful evening. I'm Aparna G. Kumar, the Global Co-Chairperson of GCPIT and your host for this evening. To quote Henry Ford, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. And we believe this is just a beginning, and this will be a beautiful lifelong relationship between all of us, and we will be working together for supporting SMEs across the globe and thereby creating a sustainable change in the society. As we all know, the United Nations General Assembly designated 27th June as Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day in order to recognize the contribution that MSMEs have made to the implementation of Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Micro, small and medium-sized enterprises or MSMEs account for 90% of businesses, 60 to 70% of employment and 50% of GDP worldwide. Today, on MSME Day 2021, almost 18 months after the onset of COVID-19 crisis, most countries are still grappling with the pandemic and its severe health and socio-economic impacts, including lockdowns and the need to support those who have lost their jobs and livelihoods. Though at first it was a health crisis, it had unprecedented and serious impacts on all of the aspects of how people communicate, work, produce, trade, consume, and live. The economic ramifications of the pandemic quickly became apparent, and SMEs have been on the front lines. With workers and customers staying indoors and supply chains tested by shutdowns, the small companies that provide 70% of the jobs in countries around the world and about half of economic activity have been put under stress. A COVID-19 business impact survey done by ITC clearly tells us how the pandemic has affected the small and medium enterprises. Analysis of this data shows that the pandemic has strongly affected 55% of their respondents. Nearly 2/3 of micro and small firms reported that the crisis strongly affected their business operations compared with about 40% of large companies. 1/5 of SMEs said that they risked shutting down permanently within 3 months. Service companies have been the hardest hit around the world. In accommodation and food services, for instance, 76% of the surveyed firms said that partial and full lockdown strongly affected their business operations. 64 of women-led firms declared that the business operations were strongly affected, and youth-led enterprises reported a high risk of closing. About 26% of youth-led firms said they risked shutting down permanently within 3 months, compared to 18% for non-youth-led businesses. Many companies that are not registered with national authorities are small and have little cash on hand to finance themselves whenever operations are shut down. The survey also found that informal enterprises are 25% more likely to say that the pandemic is pushing them towards bankruptcy. All these data shows that as business support organizations, we have a key role to play. The reason for all of us coming together is to cooperate to create growth opportunities for companies, competitive advantage for a country, and help deliver economic, social, and environmental objectives. Businesses working together can reduce costs through shared procurement, create economies of scale, and access new opportunities by sharing knowledge and resources. As business support organizations, we all can benefit from each other's knowledge, convening power, and our credibility to represent micro and small businesses and make their needs known to policymakers and funders. In the last 18 months, the whole world shifted into digital platforms, and teleworking, remote learning, teleconferencing, online health services, e-commerce, and digital payments, all these taught us that digital facilities will no longer be optional. As we are opening to the new world that has been reshaped by the pandemic, we all have to adapt to the new normal, a new normal of building and fostering resilience, digital transformation, inclusiveness, and sustainability. On the 75th anniversary of the United Nations and 5th anniversary of the adoption of the SDGs or the 2030 Agenda, which includes 17 global goals and features 169 related targets that aim to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all, let us make a promise to ourselves. We all have come together today. Let us all work towards creating possibilities, a world where no one is left behind. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it is done. Let's together create the change we wish to see in this world. Thank you so much for joining us today. So on this auspicious day, we are proud to have India's #1 business news channel, owned and operated by the Times Network, ETNow, as our media partner. As they salute India's SMEs and MSMEs and startups who showed resilience during the crisis, we are proud to join hands with them. Let us watch a short video.
Leaders of Tomorrow, India's longest and most definitive television platform for SMEs and startups. Pioneering and nurturing their dreams into reality and recognizing true leaders who fuel momentum. Leaders of Tomorrow Awards and Conclave is back in Season 9. To salute India's SMEs, MSMEs and startups across industries and sectors who not only survived but saw revival and thrived during the pandemic. Have you shown resilience during this crisis? Have you innovated against all odds? Nominate yourself and win the chance to be felicitated at Leaders of Tomorrow's illustrious awards. Register yourself now. Entries open. Presented by IDFC First Bank.
That is amazing work. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting us in this mission. Now it's time to listen to our guest of honor for this evening. We have with us Ms. Apla Lahiri Chavan. She is the co-founder, Human Factors International, Middle East, Asia, Africa, and Australia, and Global Chief of Technical Staff. Her passion is to envision how user experience can be a change agent by being inclusive and increasing people's capabilities. She is also fascinated by changes in user experience across time and space. Apla is an award-winning designer. She won the International Audi Design Award 1996 and has co-edited the book, Innovative Solutions, What Designers Need to Know for Today's Emerging Markets. She was invited to speak on user experience design and AI at the AI for Good Conference 2017, organized by the United Nations. She is also a well-known international speaker. Today, she is going to talk about sustainable society for sustainable businesses. Thank you so much, Apla. Over to you.
Thank you so much. It's a real delight and honor to be here. And I just want to speak about, and I have a presentation, a short one, so I'll share my screen. And I will speak about from a designer's angle, how we look at and work on building sustainable businesses, but important factor in that is building sustainable societies. So here I go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, Ms. Apala, it's visible.
Okay. So the two important things that we look at when building sustainable businesses is that society has to be conducive and therefore it has to be sustainable society within which sustainable businesses can operate and thrive. Two keys there are inclusion and resurgence. When I say inclusion, I really mean everybody in that society needs to be included in the benefits that businesses can provide. So the more we include everybody, the more it elevates all, the less we have unstable societies with crime, et cetera, and which is why, and there's just so much research around that. So that's why inclusion becomes so important. And from a design perspective, when we look at or advise businesses, we are always telling them, let's make sure that the idea of the product, the service, the outreach, the distribution, can we see that it's going to leave no one behind? Everybody is going to be included, which means what kind of an interesting, innovative business model can you have so that, whether it's about different pricing, a range of prices, a range of different types of products, all of that can ensure that everybody is included. For that, often when we are working, in Africa or say in Philippines and other Asian countries, there are already some ready societal models, whether it's Ubuntu, like in Africa, where there's just a model existing in the culture that says all of us are together. I exist because we all exist. It's just a deeply ingrained philosophy, or malaskit in the Philippines, because of cultural existence of cultural models, and we have that in India and in other countries. We draw from these and say, how can we use these to create a business, that is going to go out through technology such as an app or websites, etc. So whether it's getting people together based on a certain hobby, it doesn't matter what kind of people or what sections of society, but getting them together because the business model allows, the design of the business model allows that, or it's getting people together who are in a state of mind and getting them together, no matter, again, that we don't restrict that it should only be via a smartphone and not a basic feature phone. So all the right now in the pandemic, whether it's apps like Mindspace, which have grown hugely. One of the advice was that Mindspace, when you're in America, you are doing only, providing the service of how you can deal with anxiety, stress in the midst of difficult times through smartphones and higher end technology. But when you're coming into India, try and let's see how we can roll out the same thing through even SMS or voice, WhatsApp voice messages, etc. Let's have business models that are sachet based, but it then includes so many more people. So, it is very possible. The moment you think of that, the moment you want to include everybody, there are business models that can be used, design that can help. And we have global goals. We have SDGs that allow us to say, hey, for this business model, for this country, for my business, which of these goals are relevant? And how can I then make sure that I reach more people? I make sure that goal, is executed, but I also make more, my market increases. So everybody wins. There are ways in which there are models of design, such as inclusive design or universal design. Google and Facebook do a lot based on inclusive design, where the design of a system, whether it's an app or website or other systems, they make sure that, it works irrespective of someone's ability or language or cultural differences, gender, age, etc. Because all of these things change how somebody will interact. If I cannot read or am not fluent in reading or writing, well, now, there are voice technologies. So let's ensure that somebody who's illiterate is not totally left out of being able to access a product or service, because it helps both. It helps a large section of society which is otherwise left out, and there is more, divisions and polarizations and conflicts. On the other hand, a business gets the reach if it is based on different kinds of reasonable business models and technologies. While, working on AI, because as a designer and technologist, I advise a lot of businesses in how do you operationalize small businesses, medium businesses using new technologies. Well, this is one area, as we were speaking at the AI for Good conference in the United Nations, it was like, it's amazing what we can do now with AI, from helping farmers across different parts of the world to understand better which parts of the land is going to provide them better yields, to providing education to children in areas of the world where otherwise there was no way that, they could get education. But now with AI systems, the very few teachers who are there, they can get a benefit. But my point was like, what about somebody like Sheetal, who is a maid in the place I live in, Bombay? What about all of them? How can we help her? And you know what? Helping her doesn't just mean charity. No, helping her means that she will become more of a consumer. She will grow up the value chain. That just helps everyone. So can we then build AI systems, and which is something we are working on, can we build AI systems in this case that provides a subscription model? So whoever provides it is earning money, but the subscription model makes it so much easier for individuals or communities to access this. And can there be a system that allows many of us who can access by paying to then use the facility of the system to teach things like literacy to someone like Sheetal and the thousands and thousands of people like that I'm just talking about India. It's, across the world, there are different differences in abilities that can now be addressed while at the same time making a business case out of it. And how do you do that? How do you even know that, there is an inclusion issue that can help the society to be more sustainable and your business to be more sustainable? Well, for us, for technology and design folks, we have to just get out of our ivory towers. We have to go where there are the biggest problems. And that's where the biggest opportunities and solutions that I have seen have come across, from, creating a very low cost computing device after visiting so many different types of neighborhoods in different countries, a device that has helped one of the largest chip makers in the world to actually produce one of the best-selling items, which is a very small device, a low-cost device. But that is what was needed in very many places within the world where affordability of big computing devices, expensive computing devices was not possible. Well, did that mean that, well, forget it, then all of these people, they don't just cannot have access? No, there was a way to innovate around that and bring that device and what it entailed, that is, it was an education-related device, to people. And at the same time, there was a way that could also lead to business revenues for the organization. So it's important, get out there where the problems are, understand people. All of these represent, projects that were done and profits that were created, but at the same time, entire communities were given a much better chance to get to another level of their own evolution, the community's evolution. So a lot of this work is possible. And if one does this kind of inclusive work, it can only help grow sustainability in terms of stability in societies and businesses, small and medium businesses, reap the benefits of others who are doing this. And right now you see that whether Google just
Ms.
single-handedly has this. Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. We are a bit of a time crunch.
Yeah,
So
I'll finish in another 2 minutes.
Thank you.
So, you have Google, who is reaching out with their next billion user inclusive program. And that means they are providing infrastructure, which is available now for everybody. Build on that as small businesses, because now somebody has already done some of the toughest work in terms of infrastructure. There's a lot of stories and a lot of heartening, examples of how businesses can come up with innovative new ideas for different sections, like this very low cost incubator that now is affordable by those who couldn't afford this sort of medical device. So move away from thinking everything is about owning, everything is about selling it to individuals. Now change from ownership to usership. Let communities be able to subscribe to a product or service together. Let sharing happen, but at the same time, make that a business model, etc. And the other is look at innovation not as creating something new all the time, but as using what exists and coming up with new ideas. And that's what I call resurgence. And that's something small and medium businesses actually can do a lot of. We've seen a lot happening in resurgence, whether the enormous number of people who are now going directly to order food to farms, right from home to farms, using technology in the middle, whether it's platforms like Etsy, which had 150% growth just in 2 quarters last year because of the way they put together what exists and put people together, small businesses together. Many other examples of how sustainable resurgence can provide new business models. So I am very proud that design, if you look at countries which are at the top of all parameters, like the happiest countries, the most innovative countries, wealthy countries, creative countries, all of those countries are the Scandinavian countries where design and creativity is one of the biggest central tenets of society. So I hope as a designer, my profession is, able to contribute to sustainable businesses through our services. There is no map yet, but the good thing is a compass is much better than a map. So let's use that for creating more, creating the vision for sustainable businesses. And I'll end with the fact that we can do this if we develop what Martin Luther King said, a very dangerous kind of unselfishness. Just let's look at how we can include everyone. And that is what will lead to sustainability all around. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Apla. That was an amazing session. Looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Apla. It was an awesome session. Looking forward to listening to you more. I'm sorry we had to cut short because there just a few technical glitches that happened. And let's move on to the next chief guest of the day. We have a very special person with us. He is presently heading Services Export Promotion Council, CPC, as Director General. He has over 22 years of experience in various organizations under Ministry of Commerce and Industry and CII. And his core areas have been international trade and international trade regulations, policy and strategy, market research, and international trade information services. Prior to joining SCPC in March 2020, worked as Senior Director in Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India, PharmExcel, an organization set up by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. In a career spanning 12 years in PharmExcel, took numerous initiatives like Brand India Pharma Campaign, Central Portal for Authentication and Validation of Exports of Drugs from India, international outreach for market development, and creating a Brand India Pharma exhibition, IFEX. He has been part of joint working groups and joint trade commission formed for promotion of exports between countries. He represented PharmExcel in all working groups of Department of Commerce and Department of Pharmaceuticals on pharma exports. Let me proudly introduce before you Dr. Abhay Sinha. We are honored to have you with us, sir. Sorry, that was a little technical glitch that happened, and over to you.
Thank you, Aparna. And in fact, it is quite an elaborate introduction. I felt a bit, embarrassed. And of course, I do carry a lot of experience in the council and international trade. But thank you. I feel actually good and privileged to be here again. A few days back itself, I was there on the same platform. Okay. Unfortunately, today, we just had a bit of a scare. I was in auditors meet. So somehow I just got some time. And you see, as far as I understand, today the theme is definitely on the MSME Day, which is being celebrated tomorrow. We are having a kind of program today just to interact. Let me speak from the services perspective. In fact, very recently we had, in fact, our chairman, Mr. Manik Dawar, was interviewed by ETNow on a program called Leadership for Tomorrow. One very important point which was pointed out by him is that when we talk about the services sector, first and foremost, it is a kind of invisible sector. The country's employment, in terms of exports, in terms of the contribution to GDP, everything is quite far ahead, in fact, from other sectors like manufacturing and agriculture. But at the same time, it has remained a bit unrecognized, invisible when we talk about incentivizing, or when we talk about, how to handhold. A large part of the sector also belongs to unorganized category. More so when we look at travel and tourism like that. Of course, certain organized part is there in medical value tourism, but it's still there, the facilitators who are, who basically constitute the MSME part. Even in IT, in gaming, many people are there. Sometimes we get confused with IT. Animation and other things are actually, industry on its own, but they get clubbed together with IT. So these kind of confusion is there. We have tried to raise it. So now we are definitely, and there is a well-defined line for us that when we talk about the services sector, we also speak about MSMEs in services sector. And that's why I feel privileged whenever I'm invited on this platform. It gives me an opportunity to keep on highlighting that particular point. SCPC on its part is actually trying to give all the benefits what Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of MSME has envisaged in their policy plan. One is, how to give them outreach to the international market. So there a lot of subsidies available to MSME for all the services sector in terms of their participation in exhibition. So they, sometimes they may not go outside. There is another opportunity where we can invite overseas business visitor in India, meet them on a common exhibition platform, and they can, discuss business. And those opportunities gets opened when they meet people coming from outside. There also government has given us some incentive to take care of the travel cost and accommodation cost of the visiting business, importer. So these benefits are there. Then there is a lot of capacity building program incentives are there. Maybe we can also form a group of, say for example, gaming industry in MSME. There we can have certain group, and they can be very well represented through, business catalog. We can in fact get consultant from overseas to guide them on the products and services which may be in demand in certain markets. There are certain services, mostly in gaming, I have seen that they are language free. There's no barrier of language. So, then whatever product or services in terms of, some gaming option or some app, whatever you're developing, can be as good as for Latin American market. The same product, the same services with a little bit of tweaking can be for any other African or Asian market. So you can hire consultant. So those benefits are already there under various schemes of Ministry of Commerce, and ACPC is mandated to provide them to the exporting community in this particular sector. Again, just for information, very soon we are going to come out with a platform where anyone, irrespective whether they are members of ACPC or not, so mostly it will be beneficial for MSME in services. They can upload their profile on the business portal, which will be actually called India Serves, indiaserves.org or india-serves.org. It will be announced very soon. So there they can they can upload their profile, which will be visible by everyone across the globe. That we are trying to market through our embassies. So these are the limited point where ACPC can play a very important role. Last time on the same platform, I was discussing about a trade facilitation center related to the services sector that we are proposing with the state governments. With Kerala state also, we have moved ahead because of lockdown. It just got derailed. So that is also there where ACPC is reaching out to the district level or state level to provide a lot of awareness on the export opportunities. So these are my limited points. I won't take much time. Thank you again for inviting me and making me feel privileged once again. Thank you, Santoshji. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining in between your busy schedule. We know that you are in a meeting and all the technical glitches also that happened. It's really sorry for that. And thank you so much for being with us all the time as a huge pillar of support. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. Now it is